and a certified life coach into a package of a business, Rita Hurry Wellness. And that business was started about 15 years ago, and she functions as a guide on the side and has helped hundreds of people through their struggles. Rita was kind enough to volunteer and give us a lesson of yoga in the morning. And now she's going to talk about the art of mind-body coaching by Rita Hurry. So this will not come as a shock to Rita because I talked to her about this. I actually do not understand all the titles and certificates that you have, so I'm hoping I'll learn something today. I will, yeah. So thank you very much, and Rita?
Oh, do I have to wear this?
Yes.
Oh my God, we're so fancy. Okay, you guys, I haven't done a PowerPoint since college, so if I'm a little clumsy, please forgive me. But thank you and welcome. Thank you, Silas, for that lovely introduction. And by the way, Meenal was in yoga, and I'm just saying she won the raffle, so good energy, right?
We're gonna go shopping with Meenal later.
Yes. So I have to say I'm a little nervous, but when Shailesh calls, you answer and you say yes. My first thought was, yeah, sure, I'll do it. And then my second, when I put the phone down, what did I do? You know, I haven't done this. This is a new territory for me. And just a correction on the introduction, the business wasn't started until 2015, but I've been teaching yoga since 2007. So it's nice, and you'll see how it all kind of works together. And the reason I was nervous, probably the biggest part, is because what I teach is an unlearning and an undoing. And it's not adding to, we're actually subtracting. And so in a world where so much information is thrown at you, there's experts all over the place telling you what you should do, what you shouldn't do, what to eat, what not to eat. It's counterintuitive when I'm saying, no, it's about the relationship within and to go deeper within, and that you are your wisest teacher. That's why I call myself a guide. I'm a little guide on the side, but the student is always the teacher. So I'm glad I went with my first thought and said yes. So my health and wellness journey began 23 years ago after an autoimmune diagnosis. And so what I want to share with you today are the gems that I picked up along the way. And so the things that I really use and I practice daily, I teach in yoga and because it's an extension and in coaching. And it's also a culmination of very generous and wise teachers who, in my opinion, walk their talk as well. And a lot of trial and error. So I invite you, whatever fits, right? Because again, I'm not the expert. You're gonna feel like, oh, maybe I'll try this. It's just like a little nudge. And so take what resonates, leave the rest. Kind of like a buffet, right? Just take what you need. So, Shailesh, for you, what the heck is life coaching?
That's why I'm here.
That's why you're here. Oh, before I do that, I want you guys to lock eyes with someone, a little partner work. Just find somebody to look at. And yeah, find somebody. It's a little awkward, but that's okay. Just anybody they're looking at you. Make sure they're looking at you, you're looking at them. And somebody that doesn't have somebody, if it's an odd number, I'll look at you. So I'll look at, okay, he's got, anybody doesn't have a partner? Anybody doesn't have a partner? And I want you to look at them. No, keep looking. Why are you not listening? Gosh, guys, come on, help. Yeah, look at them. And I want you to relax your body, drop your weight into your seat. No, keep looking at them. We're not done. Keep looking at them, drop your weight into your seat, take a deep breath, and I want you to, with all your energy and enthusiasm and whatever you can muster up, say, it's so good to see you. So good to see you. Okay, good. Okay, good. I love an awkward moment as well, so. Okay, so now that I've relaxed, and hopefully you have too, what is life coaching? I know there's a lot of confusion, with coaching, and I understand it's fairly a new profession, and it's not highly regulated. So I put some definitions up there, good old Merriam-Webster. And the two most popular coaches in the country, Tony Robbins and Dr. Martha Beck, and they're kind of opposite spectrum on how they work, and then the International Coaching Federation. And I'll have to say the simplest way is to say we help clients set and achieve goals, personal, professional. The part that's missing is there's usually a block. There's a gap why somebody can't get where they want to go, so whether it's in health or professionally, because people know where their area of least satisfaction is. That's where we start. Something is lacking, something you want. And we also know, right, Dr. Google, we have all the information. We're swimming in information. But for some reason, we know what we want. We even know how to get there. There's a gap. We can't get there. And so life coaches are like the bridge, right, that takes you through your goals. And there's a lot of niches in coaching. And these are just some that fit on the page. I mean, there's a grief coach, there's a lot of different coaches. And I have found, just like in medicine, if you do know what you want and you find somebody that specializes in that, you do get better results. Because coaches really have to live what they give, and 9 out of 10 times, they have gone through that path. And so they are really good guides to take you through. So what is the difference between coaching and therapy? Where's my therapist? There she is. So I get this a lot. I did not go to medical school. I'm not a clinical psychologist, psychiatrist. Coaching, again, helps support and set goals. And it's usually a limited time. So depending on the goal, 6 months. Hi. Neha, I have to say hi. A year. And it's also, we work with presence. That's why yoga is so important, and future. Therapy, they assess, they diagnose, they provide more serious mental conditions, severe anxiety, depression, PTSD, addictions. And I really like this. This is another guide on the side. We work because we believe that the answers are within that person. We're just trying to excavate them. Is that the right word? Pull them out. Whereas therapists, they're the expert, and there's the patient. And so they treat, they diagnose. And we are certified by individual accredited programs. And of course, therapists governed by licensing board, state to state. So those are the biggest differences. So mind-body coaching, that's what I do. That's my specialty. And let's put this here. Again, our core belief as a mind-body coach, just like I feel in yoga, is that all beings are whole, wise, creative, compassionate, and resourceful. And they can live in abundance. It's actually our nature, our truest nature, and it's our birthright. Just by being a human, we have all of those wonderful high energy frequencies and qualities. But what happens is life happens, right? And no one is shielded by the challenges that come. I mean, just having this human body, right? This body that I have is gonna age. It might get sick. Knock on wood, people. And it's definitely gonna die, right? So that makes us vulnerable. And then you have this mind. There's thoughts, there's emotions, there's beliefs that are always changing. So, and that's just having this human body. So we're vulnerable that way. And then you have your upbringing, right? How you were raised, your parents, your environment, your school, your peers. That's okay. Your social conditioning. What else is there? There's culture. There's media. Again, all the experts telling you what you should be doing and not doing. So we're vulnerable. And then we go through, besides the health, maybe losses. There's losses of finances, maybe in career, or even relationships. You lose a loved one. Like, it's a lot for this human being to take. And if these things are not processed, again, if the core belief is that we all have these resources, if these things are not processed, our truest nature, so I always go to my belly when I think of that treasure chest, right? Because that's our truth. And if these things aren't processed, they start covering them up, right? Covering up each thing that happens. This happens, everything gets covered up. And so you have no access to that resource. So if you can carry, if it's not taught in homes and schools, which it's usually not, because I mean, parents are doing the best they can with what they have, and they bring what they were taught. You take this to adulthood, and then no wonder we're confused that, wait, we're very smart people. We know what we want. We even know how to get this. But we seem to self-sabotage ourselves, right? Especially that's where I started, was more health coaching. It's like we're pressing the gas and the brake at the same time. So as a health coach, I always say, eat mostly unprocessed, but always process your emotions. And that's what we do. We work in peeling back the layers, unlearning, undoing, kind of going back to that place that maybe something happened, subtracting. And I wrote being there because we're human beings, but most of us treat life like human doings. Right? Doing the next thing, the next thing, the next thing. We're missing big chunks of our life. And then it's reconnecting, rediscovering back to that source. So how do I do this? Why would somebody come to a mind-body coach? So just like in yoga, I always meet people where they're at. Yoga meets people where they're at. So some people come for just those hamstrings, right? A little stretch. Some people do like that peace of mind. And then there's some people that feel like there's something that they're missing and they want that connection. So what I usually get, and I kind of summarized, right? They want to manage and root out feelings of, some people are overwhelmed with life. And then some people are underwhelmed. They're like, is this it? You got to a certain point, you're like, you never feel like you quite arrived. There's stress, right? There's good stress, and there's stress that can debilitate you and paralyze you. And there's a feeling of just stuckness. Life feels empty, uninspired, and robotic, right? Like that Winston Churchill quote, one damn thing after another. We're just every day, different day, Groundhog's Day, doing the same thing. And so then they come to me if they crave more joy, more meaning. And as a health coach, I hear a lot about energy. And the talk is, oh, my energy's drained, I'm exhausted. And they look at their day, they're like, I didn't do that much, but I feel that. And so we do better lifestyle habits. And in my book, it's the 8 pillars of health and wholeness, but the 4 main ones are, better nutrition, hydration, movement, stress management. But mostly, I would say people come for the accountability and support, right? They want to be held accountable. They want somebody there, like, oh, this is what I want, and can you help me get there? Just because we're adults, like, we give it to our kids, but something about adulthood thinks we don't need that kind of support. And I believe everybody, especially when they're doing on a new journey, they need that support. So, how do I work with them? And we'll talk a little bit more about this, but we do journaling, we do mindfulness practices, which I'll talk about. Again, because it's in them. I'm there as listening deeply. I ask focused questions. So I'm not interested in the big story about all the wrongs. I'm interested in why you feel like you do. So instead of going wide, we go kind of deep into any of those stuck emotions. There's a lot of reflecting back, so it's a lot of mirroring. They can hear themselves speak, and sometimes they're the ones that get the insight. Morning routine, I mean, my friends know this, but I believe strongly in waking up. I know everybody's busy, but even if it's 15 minutes, 20 minutes, have a morning ritual, morning routine, so you are empowered in your day and you're not chasing your day, right? The next thing. So I really invite people. I don't make them do anything, but I strongly invite them to 15 minutes, 20 minutes. And I also teach a feeling state of appreciation. So we all know gratitude and having that attitude of gratitude, and everybody will say, grateful for my family and my friends and my health and my dog and all of that. But I'm talking about smaller things. You know, you go outside to get the mail, the sunlight, the way it hits the trees. And the smaller, the better. And so you bake it into your day, this sense of appreciation. I'm a coffee drinker, so that first cup of coffee for me, I used to run around doing stuff and then it'd get cold and I'm running around. Now, I will not move. I have that first. I really appreciate it. And I get up early enough not to feel rushed. It might sound like a simple thing, and a common thing, but these common sense things are not common practice. So I teach really simple things that you can bring into your day. And then what I'm doing mostly is I'm tracking the mental, emotional patterns, because there are a lot of patterns, and investigate the cause of suffering. And if you guys aren't familiar, suffering is a Buddhist term, and it's in Pali, it's dukkha. Well, even in Hindi, dukh, right? Suffering. And if you're not familiar with it, you think, oh, suffering is deep trauma. That doesn't mean what I'm going through. But if it is an undertone of your life and your day and your weeks and your months, any of these things are suffering. If it's common practice, if it's in your day. And this isn't all of them. Again, this is what I can fit in the page. There's a hollowness. It could be a discontent. So mind-body coaching, I think of it as more of a spiral. It's not a linear process like do this, do this, do this. Logical brains hate this. I'm looking at my husband, maybe Shailash. Logical brains, right? Like, it's like this is, but this is a spiral. So we may revisit similar challenges in real time, but it's only then to go deeper to release some of these emotional patterns that have been stuck. They're like energies that are just stuck in the body, mental and emotional. So I say, and I love a good tagline, instead of go big or go home, in mind-body coaching, we go deep and come home, because that's that place, right? That's that treasure chest. So the first thing I usually teach is this framework tool. And this shows the parts and the causation of how things move, right? The thoughts about a circumstance drive emotions and behavior. And more times than not, circumstance is pretty neutral. It's the facts. It's already happened, right? But it's our thoughts that we add on to it that cause us the suffering. And I'm not talking about grief here, you guys. Grief, of course, you're going to have deep emotions, right? That's clean pain, and that's different. I'm just talking about stuck in traffic, right? That's common. Why is this happening? That person is stupid. I don't know how he's driving. Nobody can drive. This kind of stuff always happens to me, right? We get irritated. And who's getting irritated? And who's affected? You. That person's on his way or her way. Our thoughts about something's neutral that's already happened has caused this, and then we have the feelings and emotions, and then the behavior. You might honk the horn. You might hold it a little longer than you should. You might say something or do something, and then the behavior comes. So it's very reactive. And so, okay, so my daughter drew some pictures for me. This is what I do as a life coach. I separate the circumstance, thoughts, emotions, and actions, and I'm trying to teach what's facts, circumstance, and the closer you get to acceptance of the facts, the better it's gonna go. Right, so she crochets, so I thought of a spool of yarn and how it's all mixed up, and it's like, oh, I just separate. And so this is what I'm doing. She do this one too. I'm catching these painful thoughts that people are having. So this is the real work. So can I ask you just a raise of hands? Do you guys know that you have a voice in your head that is not you? Like, it's not that true self. It's maybe a voice that you inherited. Maybe it's your mom, maybe it's your dad, maybe it's society, maybe it's whatever it is. No? Voice in the head, that's not you? Anybody? Okay, let me describe the voice. Maybe. I understand. Okay, I'm not talking about schizophrenia where you have a different personality. I'm just saying, okay, let me tell you this. Okay, so the voice.
2-minute break.
Oh, 2 minutes? Okay, well, I'll go through this and then we'll take that. This is the voice, and so now maybe you'll be familiar with it. The voice finds fault in other situations and ourselves. That's the inner critic. Terrible, terrible inner critic, always telling you what, it's always judging, labeling, narrating, comparing, putting people in boxes. There's a need to feel superior, inferior. You want to know where you fit. The voice likes, dislikes, blames, worries, overthinks, complains. The voice is constantly telling you what you need to do, what you didn't do, what you should have done. It's constantly shooting on you. And if this was a friend, so like if you could peel this voice out and put it as a person, you would not be friends with that person, right? You would run the other way. But because it's in our head and because we think it's true and we think it's us. So some people call this the ego. Now, does it sound familiar? Anybody? Voice in the head? Okay, good. And in the beginning, you know, it tries to keep us safe and comfortable, but there's a margin of diminishing returns where it's no longer comfortable. It's actually shrinking our life, keeping us too safe and guarded, right? We're putting up the walls. And it's lessening that connection to that deepest part of us. So the voice is untethered. You could be mad at somebody or a situation, and so you could be in this cycle of mad, and then the body can only take so much, and you can jump to sad, and now you're the victim, and you're disempowered. Or, this one's really tricky because the voice is very clever. It can be mad, and then maybe you go to that reaction where you do or say something. Now, if your value is you think you're a nice person, kind person, or maybe you think you're spiritual, whatever that means, you said something, now you feel bad because you're like, I haven't learned anything. So now you're feeling bad about yourself, and you go enter guilt, shame, all of that. So either way, it's really not a good look. It's a vicious cycle. Tony Robbins calls this the crazy 8. So you go from 2 negative emotions and you're bouncing through it because the body can only take so much. It's like our mind is a plastic bag. I like metaphors. And it's blowing against any unexamined thought that comes its way. Or if you think of a raging river, you get caught in an eddy. So it's going round and round and ruminating. Now, if the thinking was helpful, I would be fine with it. But this is not helpful. You're just ruminating and going back and forth and feeling bad. Did you want to do the? We'll do it at the end. Okay. So in my book, I expanded on this about thoughts. Most humans have the average of 60,000 thoughts a day. Hold on. 80% of that 60,000 is negative. That's 48,000. And 95% of that 48,000 is repetitive. There's the eddy. We're just going, stewing, dwelling back. So that's a lot of BS energy taking up mental rent-free space in this mind of ours. And if that voice is not checked, the more you keep thinking it, right, it becomes a belief. And those are a little difficult to get rid of, beliefs. They're not impossible, but if those thoughts keep ruminating, it becomes a belief. And it becomes a part of your identity. And if we don't shed it, it's like in yoga, I didn't talk about it this time, but it's like you have an invisible backpack on, right? And you're walking up a hill. And the negative thoughts have become a belief. Now is a rock. And in my backpack, I'm putting a rock in my backpack. And I'm walking, and then something else happens. I have another belief, and I'm rock. It's invisible. You don't see it, but you're walking with a heavy backpack, right? So life feels heavy and uninspired. So what's the answer? Right, I've taken you down this road of like, oh no. You are not all your thoughts. Now, if they're good thoughts, pleasant thoughts, loving thoughts, keep them. They're yours. But if it is creating and it's not resolving or resourceful, I say check it. Especially if it has a tinge of not enoughness in it. Byron Katie, she is the author. She's a famous author, speaker. Her book is Love What Is. And she's a teacher of self-inquiry. And she calls it the work, 4 questions that you ask these thoughts. And so The way I start as a coach is, here, another picture. We start journaling, right? And especially if you're not aware of the separation, what's mine and what is this ego, or where are these, there could be your parents. Again, it's not separate personalities. It's you, but it's what you inherited, what somebody, a belief system that somebody gave that might not be true. So the easiest, this is very simple to do. Byron Katie, this is actually what I learned from Julia Cameron. And she wrote a book called The Artist's Way 30 years ago, and it's just conscious streaming. So all you do, you have a notebook or a journal at your bedside, and again, because you were doing a morning routine, you're getting up a little early, you're just getting in that journal and you're writing whatever's here. So the only rules are, do not edit, don't worry about grammar, don't worry about being nice, and don't worry about being logical. This is not an essay you're gonna share with anybody, not even your coach, because a lot of it's personal. And you can use swear words, somebody pissed you off. I mean, you are writing everything. What's bothering you? What's kind of niggling at you on a situation that happened? What do you have to do? What are you nervous about? Whatever is in that mind, right? We're scared of that mind sometimes because we don't wanna identify, because then we'll feel like a bad person. But if it's not you, then have at it, just write. And that is, we call it a brain dump. So you're literally dumping on the page. And you don't have to show anybody this, just put it away somewhere private. But what you will find from there are that there are patterns, and it's the same thoughts going again and again. And then we get to work on them in coaching. And we work, especially if it's turned into a belief system, we'll start working on that. So it's not what happens to you, right? It's how we react to what happens. We can't change circumstances, life happens, but we can change our feelings and behaviors by seeing clearly. And with a coach, or even you, I'm gonna teach you how to do it for yourself if I was your coach. You start reframing those thoughts, and you come to a new understanding. And also, most things aren't personal, and we take them personal. So when something happens, what story am I telling myself? That's a really good question about this thing that happened. Something happens, what am I making this mean? And then when we have the thought, we'll ask, is it true? I'll give you an example, right? Personal example. My kids in middle school, they weren't very good about cleaning up their room. I mean, when they were younger, I was doing it, so I thought it was okay. And then suddenly I go in, laundry's never put away. Maybe the laundry didn't even make the basket, it's on the floor. Wet towel is on the floor, bed's not always made. So every morning we're kind of getting into it. And it was not peaceful. You do not want a yoga teacher pissed off. It's not good, then I have to go teach. So we were kind of getting into it. I'm giving you a simple example because I think everybody can relate. But then when I learned about this, I thought, okay, when they don't do that, what am I making it mean? And then, or what story am I telling myself? So my story is, oh my God, I haven't taught him anything. There are gonna be slobs. What is my mom gonna think that I've taught them? How are they gonna function in the world? But what am I making it mean? If I've been telling them and they're not doing it, what do you think I'm making it mean? They don't respect me. They don't listen to me, they don't respect me. And what kind of energy do you think that brings? Right? It's not from a rooted or grounded place, right? And then that question, we take it in and we inquire. They don't respect me. Is that true? Right? We ask. And then we'll ask, well, can you give me examples where they do? Of course, I can list 10 reasons why they do. Now, that doesn't have as much energy in it. And then the question could be, well, what else? Why else wouldn't they do it? Well, maybe it's not important to them. My urgency is not their urgency. They're thinking about other things. It's not personal. Here I am, you don't respect, da-da-da. And so then, of course, I still want to teach them what I want to teach them, but it comes from a different place. Make sense? Okay, good. All right. Oh yeah, questions, yeah. Questions, definitely. Oh, I should have said that earlier. Thank you for reminding me. I'll be out there for questions, so feel free. The other thing I teach is most of us, because again, if it's past mental conditioning, and mental and emotional conditioning, it's coming from the past, or we have anxiety from the future. When are you present? Like right in that moment. And really present, when you're present, that's the only place your power is. That's the only place, think about it, that's the only place your life is really happening. Everything else has gone, or it's imagination in our mind and what we're making of it. So I teach bringing presence, and that's where those pockets of joy or glimpses of presence that I call that simple appreciation that you have throughout your day. So let's see, was there anything else I wanted to say about presence? Yeah, no, we're good. So here we go. This is what happens. You start responding when you start doing your own work and breaking down with the framework tool and figuring these out. You start being able to respond to situation and not react, right? Reacting is always coming from past conditioning. Responding is foregoing the easy way, foregoing the habit, foregoing the known way, completely present, and you're able to know. And I love this warrior two pose. I do it all the time, and I always say it's a peaceful warrior because you're strong in the pose, front body open, back body, you're grounded. But if you have to speak and say something and do something, even if your voice is shaking, you do it, right? You can go forward, you can stay still, or you can move back. Right? Being Zen or being yogi doesn't mean you're a doormat. If there's something that needs to happen, but you're doing it from a rooted place, grounded place, and not from a reaction. So when you're responding, the mind is flexible, which is really nice, because you can go any which way. When you're reacting, there's only one way you're gonna go. I can predict when a rigid person, you know when something happens, that's gonna be the response. They don't have that flexibility. And flexibility is freedom in the mind. So, so enter mindfulness and meditation. No one teaches us, right, how our emotions affect the health of our body and our energy flow in general. And the body has no idea if something happened a minute ago, a year ago, 10 years ago. If we're ruminating, we're keeping it alive, and the body is responding to that. The nervous system is like, oh, we're in trouble, right? Fight or flight. And so it's really important to make sure that we take care of some of those things. So mindfulness, and the way I like to describe mindfulness is presence. You're in direct relationship or experience, and you're doing it without the chatter, right? Another way to say it, John Kabat-Zinn, he's a teacher of mine too, it's paying attention with curiosity and non-judgment. So quiet the narrative, you know, always having something going on here, and you're just with direct experiences, and you're coming to your senses. So like right now, you know, I feel a little breeze, I saw someone walk in, so I know what's going on, but there's no thoughts going on except what I'm doing here. And the way I teach this, I love to take walks. Oh, and by the way, you guys, having time alone is really important, because if you're always feeding off someone else's energy, you never know what's yours. So alone time is good. For me, it's when I take walks. So notice, even when you're walking, are you thinking about something that happened, something that needs to happen? Or can you just be with the birds and the trees and the sky and the breeze? And the practice is just when you go to thought, you gently bring yourself back. Just like I do in yoga class. When we're going through flow, when I go into thought, gently bring yourself back. I love a sky meditation. The sky is beautiful. And when I look up, the vastness of it and the spaciousness of it actually gives me some space in here and in the body. I think of clouds like thoughts, and weather patterns are like emotions, and you and you and you and you, we're the sky, the blue sky that contains all of it. And so we watch everything come and go. And it's like the mountain pose in yoga, right? Everything comes and goes. The mountain is the mountain, steady. Waiting, oh, this is fun. Anytime you're waiting at a red light, instead of, oh my God, I got this to do, you already know what to do, right? Can you just be? take your breath. Maybe you have music on. Maybe the window's open. You feel the breeze. Right now, the season's changing, so fall is really nice. So red lights are a good time to practice mindfulness. Waiting at the grocery store instead of, wait, this line is for 10 and under, and why he has 11? What is going to happen? You know, or looking at the cashier. Now everything's self-checked, so that's probably not an issue. But you're staring at them like, if you look, they're going to hurry up more, which is ridiculous because we're causing stress. We all do it, right? Airports are a great place to practice presence because there's a lot of waiting time in an airport. So let yourself, most of us are blasting through some moments to get to better moments. So there's big chunks of our day that we're missing because we're always on to the next thing. And then, you know those people that they get to the next thing and they're already thinking about the next thing. So they're never really where they are, quite where they are. Daily tasks, I like to teach this too. So anything you do you do on a daily basis, just bring mindfulness to it. So with COVID, washing hands was a big deal. So, but now, every time you wash your hands, can you be with the water? Can you smell the soap? See if you can do it without thinking. We think we're helping ourselves with all this thinking, but think about that eddy and the useless chatter. So anytime you do something, so washing hands, brushing teeth. I got this new electric toothbrush I love. 2 minutes, 3 minutes. Can you just be with your teeth? Vibration if you have an electric one. And presence, see if no chatter. Especially it's in the morning, so it's a good time. And you do it twice a day. That's building it in. Let's see. When I get into a car, before I even start the car and drive, a couple of breaths, right? You're gathering all your energy back, and you're present. When I get out of the car, especially if I'm going to meet somebody, I take 15 seconds. It doesn't 2-3 breaths, and so I'm present. All my energy's there for them. Before you get out, when you go to sleep, right? Instead of thinking, if you have something to do, you can write it down. You have a notebook there, right? We're doing journaling, so you're not going to forget. But maybe you do a body scan. You start with the feet. Can I feel my feet? Can I feel my ankles? Can I feel my legs? Can I feel my hips? So you just kind of work up the body, and then you work down. It's really nice. And then you just kind of lull off to sleep. Really nice way to sleep for a good sleep. Sleep is one of the pillars of health that I put in my book. It's very important, good night's sleep. Let's see, what else did I put here? Yoga meal. Okay, so in holistic coaching, I call it a yoga meal. One meal, whether it's a lunch or a snack, and you're by yourself, can you do it without distraction? Television, phone, talking on the phone, scrolling your phone. You're just with your food. Seeing it, senses, smelling, tasting, chewing. And actually, you don't need to count calories and portions after a while because your body is very wise. You know when you're full. You don't overeat because, oh, it's a commercial, I've got to go get more food, or the show's not finished, let me have seconds. You don't base it off of the time, you're feeling into your body, which is very wise, by the way. And like I said, the simple appreciation, and I talked about that already, small things within your day that you can appreciate. Now meditation. So meditation is a form of mindfulness, and you don't meditate to become a good meditator. You meditate so you find more life in your life, right? So it's not to go out in a cave. I mean, it's not so you can just sit for 2 hours. It's how does it affect your life? And it might feel like it's a big deal, but it really isn't. It's simple, but it's not easy. And all you're doing is in meditation is you could sit on a chair, you could sit on the floor if you're comfortable, you can even sit on your bed with the backrest, and you're just, you find one pointedness. So it could be breath awareness, it could be inner body aliveness, and we're gonna do some together. It could be a mantra, but it's single pointedness, steadiness, concentrated. It could be candle gazing, some people do that. I don't do that, that kind of lulls me to sleep. But in meditation, you're very alert. It's not a relaxation where like, I'm gonna go to sleep. You're very alert, but calm. And so all you're doing is you find that one pointedness that you like, and you're just putting your attention there until it goes here. And then you just gently come, like a toddler, come back to the breath or whatever that is. That's all it is. You're watching those clouds come by. You're watching the weather patterns come by, emotions, and you're just breathing. And, you know, our minds are not trained to settle. And it does not that you're doing anything wrong. They're trained to run, jump, chase, bounce off things, you know, that squirrel energy. There's always something shiny at the next thing, especially with, you know, the phones, new things are always the next thing, the next thing, the next thing. And I want you to think if meditation is like a flashlight, one-pointedness, mindfulness are like floodlights. So it's like full awareness in the moment completely. And both are a return of energy and a return of prana. They say in yoga, life force. In Chinese, it's qi. It's just reconnection back to that life force. So I thought we would practice a little bit here, just a couple minutes, if you guys are okay with that. Okay. So make sure you have enough room. So if you're too close to the table, yeah, spread it, do whatever you have to do. And don't have anything in your way, so nothing is touching you. You have your space. If your legs are crossed, uncross them. And you're gonna be closing your eyes, so you're gonna listen to me, so you really don't need to see me, but I'll be right here. And yeah, don't cross your legs. Feel your feet on the ground. Feel your sitting bones, and you can use the backrest when you're leaning back. You can come forward, but that's forward energy. But there's some place in between. And go ahead and close your eyes. And I want you to rest your hands with your palms on your lap. And you have that strong, dignified, elegant back. But the front body is soft, right? Belly is soft. Your jaw is soft. And I want you to come to your senses. So besides my voice, what do you hear? Right? Maybe that vent or that air conditioning, whatever it is. Maybe you hear sounds from outside. Maybe you feel and touch, you feel your clothes on your skin, the chair, taking your weight, so you're fully supported. Maybe a breeze from the vent if you're under a vent. I want you to rest your attention on your breath and just notice how you're breathing. So even if before you change anything, is it short? Is it just in the throat? Right? We listen to the sounds of somebody speaking there. That's fine. Let it be there. And from that attention, you rested your breath there. Allow the breath to deepen as you're sipping the air through the nose like straws. And then releasing through the nose. Right, and don't let any voices, right, disturb your practice. Right? Let it become part of the practice. So keep your attention on the breath. And open your inner ear. Right, and I want you to listen as though somebody's about to tell you something really important. Maybe some secret. Something you've been waiting for. So you're attentive. Soften the place between your eyebrows. Relax your jaw. Let the tongue rest. And when thoughts come, as they might, Just let them go by. Not attaching any story. And then gently bring back to the breath. Maybe you can sense your heartbeat. Maybe you can infuse a gratitude that you don't have to think about your heartbeat. It beats for you. How lucky are we? And again, as many times as your mind wanders, we gently, with sweetness, bring it back. Now, I want you to flip the hands where the palms are facing up and lift them a little bit off your lap so they're kind of in space. Keep your eyes closed. And I want you to see if you can sense the inside of your hands. How do you know you have hands, right? Sense the inside. Maybe there's a vibration. There's a pulse. There's a warmth. And then you can gently rest them with the palms up on your lap again. And see if you can sense your feet. Just direct your energy there. Can you feel anything inside, any warmth? Pulse, heat, even a little heat. And maybe bringing that energy up the leg. Some places you might not feel anything. It's okay. Don't get hung up. Maybe at the knees, at the joints, right? It's a swirling energy. Maybe the thighs. Femur bones heavy on your seat. Maybe you can sense the breath in the belly as the belly rises and falls. And then maybe going up into the heart area. And keep touchstone. The touchstone is the breath. So you can feel the inner body. You can sense outside. You can feel the breath inside. And be so interested in your inner world that outside it happens. So enough, these few words are enough. If not these words, this breath. If not this breath, this sitting here. This opening to life we have refused again and again until now. Until now. I want you to stay with that inner body aliveness, but you can blink your eyes open, taking in the room. So, so stay in your own body. You can listen to me 10%. I always teach the clients to treat themselves with exquisite kindness. If you could bully yourself and willpower yourself to these changes, you would have done it by now. So maybe try being kind to yourself. And I do think that this is not a luxury anymore, this mindfulness and meditation. That it should be mental and emotional hygiene, just like brushing your teeth. And that these practices are life-giving, they're life-affirming, and really the only power of that sense of wholeness, vitality, and meaning. So in my opinion, it is the most important journey you'll ever take. And the most interesting one, too. And why do I feel that way? Because when you understand your own thoughts and you understand your own emotions, you'll understand others, right? You'll have more compassion. And maybe we'll see that we're more alike than we are different. And remember, all that rent-free space is freed up. What are you going to do with all that? All that space, right? You have choices. You have the ability to respond. You're matching your highest values. You have energy and bandwidth to maybe start a new hobby, maybe your life's work, maybe follow passions, new adventure. And the feeling that life is happening for you and not to you. You completely absolve victim status. And you're tapping into abundance, you're tapping into creativity and the oneness that is this life. And that's what I want for me, that's what I want for you, that's what I want for all beings. That's why I teach this. So thank you again for your attention, your beautiful attention, your time. And thanks to Api for the invitation. I thank you guys. Api has a special place for me. When we moved here, we didn't know anybody, no friends, no family. We went to a picnic came here in 2000. We went to a picnic in 2002 when my son was maybe 1.5. And I met friends there at this one picnic that I still have today. So it was a great place for connection for me. So thank you again.